Marcus came into Gary's office with just two questions in mind. Some would call it a statement, but basically Marcus was confused. His statement to Gary was, "I think I have two love languages. I'm not so sure about that." Gary, who was reading, lifted up his head and asked him, "Why do you say that? Or rather, what exactly are your two love languages as you proceed?" And he said his first love language is sexual intercourse and his second being words of affirmation. Now, Gary, being a counselor, wanted to probe deeper and find out how he came to that conclusion. And so he asked Marcus, "When you say sexual intercourse, what do you mean? Do you like it when your spouse touches your body intimately before leading to the intercourse itself?" Marcus said, "Touching my body intimately is fine, but basically what I'm interested in is the intercourse itself." Gary then moved to words of affirmation and asked him, "Did you get a lot of words of affirmation when you were young?" He said no. And he asked, "So what makes you feel words of affirmation is your love language?" And he said because he didn't get much of it when he was young, that was basically what attracted him to his spouse. And he actually feels very hurt deeply when she uses negative words at him. After other conversations had gone on, Gary and Marcus came to a conclusion that his love language, or his primary love language rather, is words of affirmation. And he just loved sexual intercourse as a guy, as a human being, and basically because the body always wants to be touched, which we've talked about in our previous chapter. Hello everyone, and welcome once again to another episode of the Review With Me podcast. I'm your walkthrough reading coach and your host, Mrs. Peace Tamino, and here we are reading Gary Chapman's 5 Love Languages, and we are in chapter 8. Yes, we've talked about the 5 love languages ranging from physical touch to words of affirmation, acts of service to quality time and to receiving gifts. And today we will be talking about discovering your primary love language. Yeah, discovering your primary love language. A lot of people have been sending me messages privately asking me, "I think I have this, I have that. I don't even know, sometimes I get confused." Well, this chapter is for you. So if you're ready to go with me, please come right in and let's go straight to the point. But before we do that, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe and follow. Tag someone who you think needs to discover their own love language. You could tag your spouse, tag a friend. Now come with me. Let's discover our love language. Now, from Marcus's story, you could see that confusion was arising based on some things which he liked. And I'm sure there are a lot of people listening to this out there, and there are some of your friends who have not listened to it, but you know are also confused about how to find the right or my right primary love language. Well, I'll be giving you some approaches that you can use to discover to a certain length what primary love language you are. So how do we do this? Number 1, what do you desire above all else to be done to you by your spouse? There must be something you actually want your spouse, the person you are in love with, the person you call your husband or your wife, to do to you. It's a greatest desire for you for that thing to be done to you. So what's that particular thing? That could be an inkling, or that could actually be a tip to what your love language is. And if from this first question you actually do not get the answer immediately, because this is supposed to be something that will come very quick and immediate to you, but if you didn't get it immediately, then hold on for number 2. Now, number 1, I said, what's your utmost desire? What do you desire for your spouse to do to you or to do for you? Number 2, what does your spouse do or fail to do that hurts you deeply? Now, it is known that most times we get hurt and we get angry when people hurt us, but most of the anger and the deepest part of hurt comes from people who love us. Why? Because we believe these are people that we love, these are people that we have a relationship with, they know us better, and they are the ones that hurt us the most. So let's take that back into number 2. What exactly is that thing that your spouse does or your spouse has failed to do that hurts you the most? That could also be an inkling to your love language. Then number 3, What have you often requested of your spouse? There are some things you may have asked your spouse and he or she actually sees that as nagging. Now, go back, sit down and reflect. This is actually a reflective chapter. Go back, sit down and reflect and ask yourself, what are the things I've requested of my spouse? Look around it. Some of those things are cluttering around your love language. It could be acts of service. In the book, while reading, a lady asked her husband, I don't think if he loves me, because if he loves me, I've been asking him to help out in the house. He would just sit down and be watching TV while I'm doing all the work. That's a lady crying out for acts of service. Another was asking, can we have some time together? Just sit down, not necessarily doing anything, just go out, have a picnic together, go for a vacation. That's someone crying out for quality time, attention. Another person is asking, you don't get me anything. That's someone crying out for gifts. So whatever it is that you are requesting for often is a pointer to your love language. And then number 4, in what way do you regularly express love? So we all know that before we used to do love people the way you want to be loved, but hey, it has gone beyond that. It's now love people the way they want to be loved. And if you've been following through every episode of the love languages, you will find out that, or you will agree with me, that people, you may be loving them in the way they want, in the way you want to be loved, but you are not really speaking their love language. But now, based on how to discover your own love language, we must learn to love people the way you have been expressing your love to someone, to your spouse in particular, in that way that you have been expressing your love, that may be a pointer to your love language. Now, based on these 4 things, it's easy to discover your love language to a certain level, and it is very important for you to discover your spouse's love language. But most importantly, you have to discover your own love language, because until you learn to love yourself, you cannot learn to love another person. So discovering of love language starts with your own. Now, the approaches I have listed, number 1 to number 4, will probably enable, remember the key word is probably, because it is not a definite test. All right, there is a test for love language, but it's not a definite test. But this will guide you towards pointers. It will show you pointers that are leading to what your love language may be or may not be. So it will help you to probably discover your love language. And if at this point, while you ask yourself these 4 questions, 2 love languages speak louder to you, then it's still okay. You may be bilingual. All we need to do is still find out and dig deeper. Remember, I said this is a reflective chapter. Remember Marcus at the beginning of the chapter, the story, he felt he had 2 love languages, but after reflection, he actually found out that his major love language was just 1. So you will need a lot of reflection. You also need to discuss with your spouse. Now, if you have a bilingual love language, that's easier for your spouse, because at this point they have the opportunity and the choice to choose in whatever way they would like to express their love to you. But just make sure that you communicate with your spouse. And after that, in this particular chapter in this book, there is a page where we have a love language test, and you can go ahead and take the test. All I'll need you to do is just make sure you are as honest as possible. Most times when questions are asked, you remember the way we took the test for temperament, when you're asked the question, what comes to your mind first? Now, let me say this here before I go on, and everyone should note this, that love languages can also be influenced by trauma. Some people's love language is influenced by trauma, by the love that they did not receive, so it makes them to begin to crave for it. So what do you do in that case? The first thing you have to do is reflect and ask yourself, does this love language really speak to me because I did not get it when I was young? Am I actually seeking for this love because I was traumatized? So you have to reflect honestly, answer the questions honestly, and then name and identify the trauma. So what kind of trauma did you go through? Did you go through a trauma where you didn't reach poverty? Probably you were traumatized by poverty, and then now you just want money, you just want gifts. Okay, do you understand that now? Is it that your love language is coming from a place where you never felt people tell you, never heard I love you, you never felt affirmed, and then you grow up wanting affirmation? So name and identify the trauma, then heal from that trauma. Please note that you cannot heal from trauma just on your own. Number one, you need the Holy Spirit, and then God has also imputed wisdom in people's professionals who can walk you through that trauma process, who can walk you through opening the door to the past, dealing with it, healing your inner self, healing your inner child, and then beginning air out the wounds, allow the wounds to heal, and then you begin to heal little by little. So you have to heal before you deal, and then after you've healed, remember, healing is not a once and for all process. It's something that goes on and on. After you heal, then you can now go ahead to discover what your real love language is. Okay, so now that I have stated that, I want to also let us know, based on these approaches I have given you on how to find love. Now we have two categories of people. There are people who have their love tank very full to the point where they may get confused. I don't even know what my love language is, because when I look at my life, I'm actually I feel so loved. I feel happy and contented. Fine. And then the second category is one who has not experienced love for over a long period of time, that they have automatically forgotten what it means to be loved. Well, the both categories still need to discover their love language so they can make things easy for their spouse. How do they do this? Now, they have to first sit down and reflect, take a look back, take their mind back to when they first met their spouse, and ask themselves, what attracted me to this person? What was this person doing to me that made me fall in love with him? You could also discuss with your spouse, and then when you find out those things, you can now go back and ask yourself those questions which I said earlier. Those could lead to a pointer of what your love language truly is. Don't worry, I will drop the page for the love language test once I'm done. I'll say it out, and I'll also drop it in the bio, so everyone can go have a test of their love language. And please, when you do that, don't forget to let me know. Oh, by the way, I'm bilingual, and guess what? I never really knew I was bilingual. In fact, I felt I was more of an act of service person, but when I got married, a new part came out, and man, I am loving it. All right, so let's go on. Now, another way to discover your love language is to ask yourself what a picture of your ideal spouse would be. So in your mind, remember I said ideal, I'm not talking about real now. We know that ideal is the perfect spouse. So we know we cannot get an ideal spouse, but having a picture of what your ideal spouse is will give you an inkling, or it will open your eyes into what you're expecting, and from those your expectations, you can pick out pointers of your love language. Now, there's another game you can play with your spouse, and this will actually help you to bring out an idea of what your love language is. Remember, the chapter is talking about discovery of love languages. So I've talked about 4 approaches. I've also talked about remembering when you met your spouse before you guys got married, and find out what attracted you to him, what was those things that he or she was doing that made you fall in love with them. And I've talked about the ideal picture you have of a spouse. Now, the next one to discover your love language is to play the tank check. The tank check game is a game where you check your love tank daily, both you and your spouse, to find out how filled it is. It moves on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being empty and 10 being full. So how is this game played? Every day, intentionally ask your spouse, how is your love tank today? What's the level of your love tank today? And then based on what your spouse responds, you ask them a question. How do I fill up your tank today? Take it step by step. We're not actually aiming for a long or a bigger thing. Just how do I fill your tank today? And then your spouse will tell you. Now, the requests made by your spouse is clustered around their love language. So the story was said of a man who told Gary Chapman, I hate the tank check game. It's frustrating. And he asked him why. And he said he asked his wife, how is your love tank today? And she said it's around 7. And so he asked her, how do I fill up your love tank? And she said, my love tank will be filled if you move it from 7 to 10 my love tank will move to 10, sorry, if only you do the laundry. And he was confused. How does laundry and love or go hand in hand? Now Gary smiled and told him, what's your own love language? And he said his love language is physical touch. And Gary explained to him, the same way you feel loved, you feel satisfied, you feel seen when your spouse touches you the way you want to, is the same way she feels when you do the laundry. And with that realization, the man screamed, then I would do the laundry every night if that will make her feel loved. So you can play the tank check with your spouse. Remember, it's daily. Ask, what's your love tank today? What's the tank level? And then what can I do to fill it up? Now take note of all the requests your spouse asks, because those requests are clustered around their love language. So by the way, what's your love tank today? Is it empty? Is it full? Is it half filled? Where are you ranging on? All right. And if you okay, so so if you're still asking yourself, I'm coming to the end of the chapter. If you're still asking yourself, my spouse has been asking me to do some things that is coming strange to me. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to find my way around this. I've never done it before. So how do I get to doing this? Don't worry. We still have something for people like that. This book is complete. Remember, we're discovering you. We're building capacity. We're developing ourselves, and personal development starts with you before it begins to spread. Remember, we live life inside out. So if that is you asking that question, don't worry. Just watch out for chapter 9, and every of your question will be answered. Now, back to the page where we find the love language test. You will find that love language test on page 191 to 201 of the 5 love languages. So just go to that page and begin to take the test. Now remember, I said earlier, this chapter is a chapter for reflection, and the best way to get the right result is when you indulge in honesty. Have integrity. Integrity starts with being honest to yourself. So tell yourself the truth. When a question is asked, the first answer that comes to your mind is probably the right, or most honestly the right answer. Don't overthink it. Don't ask yourself, okay, sometimes no. The one that just comes to your mind immediately at that moment, that is the real you speaking. At this point, I'll draw a close to the chapter 8 of the 5 love languages. Thank you very, very much for staying with me. I hope you enjoyed this chapter, and I hope you will go ahead to discover your own love language and that of your spouse. Remember, it starts with you discovering yours. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow. Invite others to join us as we recultivate once again the reading culture in our society. Be a reader. It helps. It raises you to another level. Thank you very much, and God bless you.